The sharpest material human beings have ever produced was under your bare feet, and you didn't know it was there. You're standing in the Tlatelolco market on a warm morning in 1510, 9 years before Cortés will arrive and change everything. The noise hits you first. Tens of thousands of voices. A roar that Bernal Díaz del Castillo, who had walked through markets in Spain, Italy, and Constantinople, said was audible from leagues away. The smell is copal incense, roasting maize, fresh-cut flowers, and the warm copper undertone of raw cacao. You're barefoot or wearing cactli, thin-soled leather sandals that protect you from heat, but not from much else. And scattered in the packed earth around your feet, invisible until the sun catches a single edge, are fragments of obsidian, volcanic glass, napped and traded and broken and discarded in the thousands of transactions happening around you every hour. Each fragment carries an edge measured in nanometers, sharper than a modern surgical scalpel. Modern laboratory studies have confirmed it. Obsidian produces cleaner cuts at the cellular level than steel. You won't feel it go in, you'll feel it later. This is Tenochtitlan, a city of somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 people, built on an island in Lake Texcoco, connected to the mainland by 3 engineered causeways, fed by a double aqueduct from the springs at Chapultepec, organized into 4 great quarters subdivided into Calpulli neighborhoods, and governed by a legal, commercial, and religious system as codified as anything in Europe. Contemporary London had perhaps 50,000 people. Paris had roughly 200,000. Tenochtitlan was, by credible estimates, the largest city in the Western Hemisphere and among the largest on Earth. And it could kill you in a week. Not through war, not through sacrifice. Through the ordinary business of being alive in a dense, pre-antibiotic, pre-germ theory city built on a lake, where the engineering was brilliant, the medicine was sophisticated, and the one piece of knowledge that would have saved you, that invisible organisms cause infection, would not exist anywhere on the planet for another 3.5 centuries. This is not a story about a primitive place. It is the opposite. It is a story about a place so advanced that its dangers were the dangers of advancement itself. Start with what you drink. Lake Texcoco, the body of water on which this entire city floats, is brackish. Saline in its eastern reaches, marginal everywhere else. The Aztec solution was extraordinary. A great dike system, attributed to the engineering vision of Nezahualcóyotl of Texcoco in the mid-15th century, separated the fresh western waters from the salt east. A double-barreled aqueduct carried spring water from Chapultepec into the city along one of the causeways. 2 channels, so one could flow while the other was cleaned. 250,000 people depended on that single line of supply. When it functioned, it was among the most impressive hydraulic engineering projects in the pre-modern world. When it didn't function, you drank the lake, and the lake was not clean. The chinampas, the famous floating gardens that fed the city, were fertilized with human waste collected by canoe from the city's latrines. Efficient agriculture, closed nutrient loop. Also, a closed loop of fecal-oral transmission for every intestinal parasite the population carried. Sahagun's Nahua informants, speaking to the friar in the 1540s and 1550s in what would become the Florentine Codex, described illnesses from bad water, severe stomach cramps, relentless diarrhea. Without oral rehydration therapy, a technology so simple it's a packet of salt and sugar in water, but which no one on Earth had formalized, severe diarrheal disease in a highland tropical environment could kill you in days. Not weeks, days. Now consider the obsidian under your feet. The Aztec economy ran on volcanic glass the way ours runs on steel. Razors, scrapers, weapons, surgical tools, everyday kitchen blades, all obsidian, quarried at state-controlled sites like Pachuca and Otumba and distributed through the same market networks you're walking through right now. Obsidian is brittle. It chips. It sheds micro-fragments that settle into the packed earth of a market floor where thousands of transactions happen daily. Archaeological excavations at Aztec period market sites have recovered dense obsidian debitage in commercial zones. The fragments are small enough to miss. The edges are not. A deep, clean laceration from a material sharper than surgical steel. In a city without antiseptics. That wound is where the next danger lives. Aztec medicine, Techiotl, was not guesswork. It was a documented, codified system. Sahagun's Florentine Codex devotes extensive chapters to it. The Badianas manuscript, compiled in 1552 by an Aztec physician named Martín de la Cruz at the Colegio de Santa Cruz de Tlatelolco, barely 30 years after the conquest, illustrates specific herbal remedies for wounds, fevers, dysentery, burns, and skin disease. Modern laboratory analysis has confirmed that many of these plants have genuine bioactivity. Copal resin, commonly applied to wounds, contains terpenes with documented antibacterial properties. But here's the gap that kills you. The Aztec physician could diagnose your wound infection, name the herbs, prepare the poultice, apply it with practiced hands and genuine care. And it could still kill you, because no one on Earth yet understood what bacteria were. A wound treated with an ineffective plant paste and then sealed, covered with maguey fiber padding, could trap bacteria and accelerate anaerobic infection. Sahagun's informants describe wound conditions that modern physicians recognize immediately. Blackening flesh, spreading fever, delirium, death within days. Gangrene, sepsis. Conditions that a modern urgent care clinic would resolve in 20 minutes with irrigation, debridement, and a course of antibiotics. The Aztecs themselves knew the system had limits. This is one of the most striking passages in the Florentine Codex. Sahagun's informants describe the good physician as one who knows herbs, stones, trees, and roots, who has experience, who has tested things. And they describe the bad physician as one who kills with medicines, causes patients to worsen, makes a business of deception. They recognize medical malpractice in terms you would recognize today. The system was not ignorant. It was incomplete, and the missing piece would not arrive for 350 years. Now imagine you've survived the water and the obsidian and the wound care. You're invited to drink pulque. Octli in Nahuatl was the primary alcoholic beverage of central Mexico. Fermented from the sweet sap of the maguey agave, it was nutritionally significant. Calories, B vitamins, beneficial bacteria when properly fermented. The problem is the word properly. Fresh aguamiel begins fermenting almost immediately in the highland warmth. The window for safe consumption was roughly 1 to 2 days. Beyond that, acetic acid concentrations climb, pathogenic bacteria colonize the open ceramic vessels, and the drink that was feeding you yesterday is poisoning you today. You can't tell by looking. The difference between a fresh batch and a lethal one is invisible. The Aztec state knew pulque was dangerous. Public drunkenness among commoners was punishable by death, stoning for repeat offenders. The elderly were granted drinking privileges, a social exception that suggests the authorities understood the risk was real enough to regulate at the highest level. But at large, ceremonial feasts, where pulque flowed freely and communal vessels circulated among dozens of guests, individual quality control collapsed. One bad batch, one vessel sitting too long in the sun. And for someone already dehydrated, already carrying a parasite load from the water, the resulting fluid loss could finish the job. Speaking of ceremonies, you cannot refuse. The Pocteca, the powerful merchant class, held feasts where Teonanacatl was distributed. The word means flesh of the gods. Psilocybin mushrooms, consumed communally, passed hand to hand, eaten as a sacred and social obligation. The psilocybin itself would not kill you. Its physiological toxicity is low, but Mexico is home to over 50 species of psychoactive mushrooms, alongside morphologically similar species from genera like Galerina and Lepiota that contain amatoxins, liver destroyers. In a ceremonial context where mushrooms were gathered in bulk, dried, and distributed in a low-lit room by a senior figure who placed one in each hand around the circle. One wrong species was enough. Amatoxin poisoning is particularly cruel. The initial symptoms, nausea, cramping, subside. You feel better. You think it's passed. Then, 48 to 72 hours later, your liver fails. Irreversibly. In a world without IV support, without liver transplants, without even a clear understanding of what organ was failing, this was a death sentence. And you could not have refused the mushroom. The gods demanded it. Your host offered it. You ate it. Step back now and look at the city itself, because the city was the danger. 13,000 people per square kilometer in the urban core. Modern Manhattan has 27,000, but with skyscrapers, elevators, pressurized water, and sewage treatment plants. Tenochtitlan was largely single-story. That density was at ground level, in the air, in the water, in every shared surface and communal space. Respiratory infections, gastrointestinal illness, skin eruptions. Sahagun's informants describe all of these as routine. The Chinampas that fed this population were worked by laborers who stood knee-deep and waist-deep in water and organic muck, driving stakes, layering mud, planting seedlings. Every submerged puncture wound, from a sharp stake, a broken shell, a fragment of anything, was immediately contaminated by water rich in fecal coliform and decomposing organic matter. The combination of puncture wound and anaerobic contamination is precisely the mechanism for tetanus. Clostridium tetani thrives in exactly these conditions. It lives in soil worldwide. It was certainly present in the mud of Lake Texcoco, and it was undiagnosable as such by any physician in the Aztec world. The floating gardens that fed the empire were fertilized with human waste and worked by barefoot laborers standing in the runoff. The most productive agricultural system in the Americas was also, at the microbial level, a killing floor. You might escape the water, the blades, the pulque, the mushrooms, and the mud. But could you escape your host's hospitality? The temazcal, the sweat bath, was a central institution of Aztec life. Hygiene, medical treatment, ritual purification, post-childbirth recovery. A low-ceilinged stone or adobe chamber, barely tall enough to sit upright, where water was poured over heated stones to produce searing steam. Medicinal herbs added to the water. The heat was intense enough that Sahagun sources record specific warnings about duration. For someone unaccustomed to it, a trader from the coast, a visitor from another Kalpuli, the danger was hyperthermia. Core body temperature above 40 degrees Celsius triggers organ failure. In a sealed, superheated room with no ventilation, it can happen in under an hour. And the temazcal was communal, social, a courtesy offered to guests. Refusing it was an insult. The sweat bath was medicine, courtesy, and social obligation. And it could cook your organs if you didn't know when to leave. Here's something the movies never show you. The Great Market of Tlatelolco, the largest marketplace in the Americas, where Diaz del Castillo counted more goods than he could catalog, operated under a formal court system. Judges sat on raised platforms during market hours, watching transactions, adjudicating disputes on the spot. Diego Duran, the Dominican friar, described the system in detail. Punishments carried out immediately, publicly, with no appeal. The penalty for theft was death. Selling stolen goods, using fraudulent measures, selling in an unauthorized location, all could carry capital punishment or severe beating. A visitor who did not understand the regulatory environment, who handled goods without permission, or was simply mistaken for a thief, could find himself before a tribunal and dead before sundown. Shopping could kill you faster than any disease if you broke a rule you didn't know existed. And beneath all of this, a danger so quiet you might not notice it until everything else became worse. The Valley of Mexico sits at 2,240 meters above sea level. A coastal trader walking from the Gulf lowlands near sea level gained over 2,000 meters of altitude on foot, without pack animals, without wheeled transport. Arrived exhausted, dehydrated, headache, nausea, fatigue, the early symptoms of altitude stress. Not enough to kill you outright, more than enough to weaken your immune response, slow your wound healing, impair your judgment, and make you vulnerable to every single other thing on this list. Altitude was the amplifier. Everything else was the weapon. If you're sitting with the weight of all this and thinking these people lived in some kind of nightmare, stop. Consider what the Aztecs actually built. They had organized daily street sweeping, labor crews that cleaned the causeways and public spaces every morning. Sahagún records that the Spanish were startled by how often Aztecs bathed, because Europeans of the period bathed far less frequently. The aqueduct from Chapultepec was a genuine marvel of hydraulic engineering. The medical system, for all its limits, contained hundreds of plants with demonstrated bioactivity, administered by trained professionals who understood the difference between a competent physician and a fraud. The marketplace court system was harsh, but it maintained commercial order in a space that handled tens of thousands of daily transactions without a single written contract. Aztec streets were cleaner than the streets of Madrid. Their physicians were more empirically grounded than most European doctors of the same era, who were still balancing humors. Their sanitation was more organized, their food supply more efficient, their legal system more immediately responsive. The deadly contamination was structural, invisible, embedded in the water cycle and the biology of density in ways no civilization on Earth had yet understood. That is the point. Not that the Aztecs were primitive, not that their city was a death trap because they failed. Their city carried the same risks that every dense pre-modern city carried. London's cholera epidemics were still 3 centuries away, and they would kill tens of thousands in a city with far more technological resource than Tenochtitlan ever had. The risks were the risks of being human, urban, and alive before the age of microbiology. You have probably eaten something today that was first domesticated in the Valley of Mexico. Corn, tomatoes, chili peppers, chocolate, vanilla, squash, avocado. The people who domesticated those crops, who built a city of 250,000 on a lake, who engineered aqueducts and floating farms and a legal code and a medical system and a trade network that stretched from the deserts of the north to the jungles of the south. Those people's descendants are alive. Nahuatl, the language they spoke, is spoken by 1.5 million people in Mexico today, not as a relic, as a living language in homes, in markets, in schools. The things that could have killed you in Tenochtitlan, the water, the wounds, the invisible fragments underfoot, are the things that killed people everywhere before the knowledge arrived to stop them. What the Aztecs built with the knowledge they had was, by any honest measure, one of the great achievements of urban civilization on this planet. The sharpest edge in the marketplace was not the obsidian. It was the distance between what they knew and what they could not yet know. And that distance was the same distance every civilization on Earth was crossing, at the same time, in the dark.